This is a tutorial on how to install and configure Pterodactyl with Nginx Proxy Manager. This tutorial does not use Cloudflare's proxy feature, only simple DNS. I'll make a separate video in the future covering how to set it up with Cloudflare proxy as well. In this video, we will configure the panel, wings, and Nginx Proxy Manager on the same machine. You are free to run them on separate instances, but be aware that some configurations will differ from what is shown in the video. This tutorial assumes that the viewer has basic Linux knowledge, knows how to use SSH, and understands port forwarding if necessary. If you can't do that, this tutorial is not for you. And yes, I'm using an AI voice. It's faster, and I don't feel like recording the same thing 100 times. For this tutorial, I'll be using a virtual machine on Hetzner Cloud. First, let's start by creating DNS records for the panel and wings. Go to your DNS provider and create 2 records pointing to your machine's public IP address. One for the panel and one for wings. Make a note of them, you'll need them later. Next, we'll update the machine to the latest version. After that, we'll install Docker using this one-line command. A copy of these commands will be available in the description below. Lastly, we enable Docker to start on boot. Now let's set up Nginx Proxy Manager. First, we'll create a directory. It doesn't matter where, I'll create it in the root users directory. After creating the directory, we'll create a Docker compose file. Copy and paste the contents from the description below. To save the file, press Ctrl+X, then Y for yes, and enter. You can verify that everything is correct by using the cat command to view the file contents. Lastly, run docker compose up -d to start Nginx Proxy Manager. After the container is running, open a browser and enter your server's IP address. If the page loads, everything is working. Next, go to port 81 and create a user using your email and password. After that, open Settings and disable the Congratulations page. Now let's create SSL certificates for the subdomains we created earlier. If the proxy is reachable on port 80, the first Let's Encrypt option should work. However, if you know what you're doing, you can use the DNS challenge instead. Remember to create certificates for both the panel and wings. After creating both certificates, head over to Proxy Hosts and create a host for the panel. In this case, the panel will be installed on the same machine, so I'll use 127.0.0.1 as the IP address. The port will be 9999, which we'll set later during the panel's web configuration. Enable block common exploits and WebSocket support. Under SSL, select the certificate you created for the panel, then enable Force SSL and HTTP/2 support. After that, do the same for wings, but use port 8080. If Nginx Proxy Manager is not running on the same machine as wings or the panel, remember to use the machine's actual IP address instead of 127.0.0.1. Now we'll begin setting up the panel. Follow the instructions provided on the Pterodactyl website. I'll speed through this part, but feel free to pause the video and follow along at your own pace. I strongly recommend running one command at a time so you don't accidentally break anything. Make sure to create a strong and secure password for the MySQL database. Once you've completed the first page of the setup, we need to add a variable to the .env file to allow the panel to be proxied by Nginx Proxy Manager. Open the file using nano, add the following line, and save the file. Also restart the Ptero service by doing systemctl restart pteroq.service. We will now set up the web server for the panel. Go to the Web Server Configuration tab and choose Nginx without SSL. Delete the default Nginx configuration. Copy the entire configuration, but paste it into Notepad first, because we need to change a few things. The port will listen on 9999, and the server name will respond to 127.0.0.1. If your Nginx Proxy Manager is not running on the same host as the panel, enter the IP address of the panel server instead of localhost. I will add the necessary proxy headers to the configuration so it works correctly with Nginx Proxy Manager. If you want, you can simply copy my version of the configuration from the description below to make sure you don't miss anything. After copying the configuration we created, paste it into the following location and save the file. After saving the file, create a symlink by running the specified command, and then restart Nginx. You should not see any errors after restarting Nginx. Just to be clear, I am not talking about Nginx Proxy Manager, but the Nginx web server installed in order to run the panel. Now we will begin installing Wings. The first steps can be skipped since Docker is already installed. However, feel free to enable swap if needed. After doing this, we now need to configure the panel to use Wings. You should be able to access the panel through the subdomain you created. Log in with a user you have already created and go to Settings. Create a new node, but first add a location. Fill in the basic details and make sure to enable Behind Proxy at the bottom. This ensures that Wings does not look for certificates during startup. For the daemon port, set it to 443. This is the port the panel will think Wings is running on, even though it is actually handled by Nginx Proxy Manager. After creating the node, you can add the first allocation. In this example, I will add the default port for Minecraft. Now we can begin adding the configuration to Wings itself. Go to the Configuration tab and copy the configuration. Do not use the Auto Deploy feature because we need to make a small change. After copying it, paste the configuration into the following location. Before saving, change the port from 443 to 8080. Keep in mind that the panel still thinks the port is 443, but that port is actually being used by Nginx Proxy Manager. Once that is done, save the file and run sudo wings --debug. If everything is working correctly, the node in the panel's node list should turn green. If it does, congratulations. Wings is now running. The final step is to configure Wings to start automatically in the background when the server boots. To do this, head over to the Pterodactyl documentation and create a file called wings.service in /etc/system/system. Paste in the content shown in the documentation, then enable the service using the provided command. The heart should now be green again. We can now test the setup by creating a server instance. In this example, I'll create a Minecraft server and try to connect to it. And it works. I can even give myself operator permissions if needed. Thanks for watching. If this tutorial helped you, please press the like button. If you run into any issues, leave a comment down below.